The game on the left took me 7 hours to build. The game on the right, 1 prompt. Same requirements, same model, same cat. A few months ago I tested the BMAD method for the first time, version 5. It took 8 hours to build a single landing page and the comments section had opinions. Try YOLO mode, you did it wrong, V6 changes everything. Fair enough, the creator released a groundbreaking V6 update, so I gave it another chance. This time with Opus 4.6, every advantage I could give it, and the emotional resilience of a man who has already lost 1 weekend to this framework. Let me show how both of these were made. Before I get into the suffering, a quick overview of what V6 claims to bring to the table. It's marketed as a ground-up rewrite with 5 major changes. First, scale adaptive intelligence. V5 forced the same heavyweight planning process on everything, even the bug fix got the enterprise treatment. V6 introduces 2 tracks. Quick flow for simple tasks and the full BMAD method for complex projects. Smart idea. Second, agent as code. Agents are now defined as .agent.yaml files instead of monolithic markdown prompts. They are versioned, portable, and can be installed across more than 20 different platforms. On paper, that sounds great. Third, party mode. You can bring multiple agent personas into a single conversation. The PM, architect, and developer can all debate in one context window. Worth noting, this is one LLM role-playing multiple characters, not actual parallel processes. It's improv theater, not a team stand-up. Fourth, step file architecture. Instead of loading a 50 kilobyte PRD into every session, documents are sharded into small focused pieces. Community case studies report token reduction of 74 to 90%. And fifth, expansion packs. Domain-specific modules like Game Dev Studio, Create an Intelligence Suite, and Test Architect that you can install on top of the core method. Those are the headlines. Let me tell you what happens when you actually sit down and use it. When I was 16, a friend of mine built this ridiculous Flash game. The concept was, let's say, not suitable for YouTube. I've always wanted to rebuild it in modern web technologies, so I decompiled the original SWF file, extracted the scripts, and used Claude Code to generate proper requirements. I replaced the original theme with something family-friendly. A cat hanging from a rope, swinging back and forth. You charge a cannon and launch tuna at it. Hit the cat, score a point. Because apparently that's my brand now. The result, Feed TGC, a canvas-based HTML5 game where you launch tuna at a swinging cat head within a 60-second timer. Simple game, perfect test case. I used the exact same requirements document for both the BMAD build and the plan mode build. Same Opus 4.6 model. Fair comparison. I didn't install the Game Dev Studio expansion pack. That could be a separate video if there's interest. If you want to see how BMAD performed, I'll link to my previous comparison video where I tested BMAD against SpecKit and OpenSpec. Installation is the same as before. npx BMAD method install, select your modules, pick your IDE. I went with the core method plus the Creative Intelligence Suite because why not? I'm already here. The first phase is the PRD. You summon the PM agent and it starts asking questions. 13 steps of elicitation. And honestly, some of these questions are excellent. Target platform, canvas rendering preferences, hit detection model, generous or precise, sound management, web audio API or simple audio elements, physics for the pendulum swing. These questions I wouldn't have thought to ask myself. For someone who's never built a game, this is genuinely educational. But then there is the other kind. Business success metrics for a cat game I'm building for a YouTube video. User persona focus groups. Who plays this? Me. Me and the guy who made the original in 2005. Pre-mortem analysis. Imagine TGC flopped. What went wrong? I mean, it's a tuna cannon game on a YouTube channel with a few thousand subscribers. Let's not overthink this. I told the PM the only business success metrics is whether this video gets 1,000 views. It replied, I love the honesty. By the time the PRD was done, I was at 59% context and 30 minutes in, without writing a single line of code. Next came the UX design phase. This was optional. BMAD asked if I wanted to run it and I said sure, why not? In hindsight, I should have skipped it. Fresh context window, load the UX agent. It gave me 4 design directions. I pointed it to my channel's color palette: black, gray, orange. The HTML preview it generated actually looked promising. Nice CRT retro effect, proper color tokens. I thought, okay, maybe this time. Then the walls of text started. Emotional response definitions, micro-emotions, core experience mapping, flow optimization principles. I'm reading pages of design theory for a game where you throw fish at a cat. At one point it asked me to name 2 or 3 games that capture the experience I'm going for. I don't play games. I told it to pick for me. It suggested Flappy Bird and Angry Birds. Yeah, that tracks. By the end of UX, I was at 76% context and starting to question my life choices. Architecture was another fresh context window, another round of questions about things I'd already answered. Load patterns, code conventions, folder structure. All reasonable for a real project. Total overkill for this one. But I kept going because I wanted to see the full process, and at this point I'd spent too many hours to quit. 4 epics, 15 stories. A coverage validation matrix. The architecture phase ended at 39% context, and the implementation readiness check found 0 critical issues. On paper, everything looked perfect. On paper, the Titanic was unsinkable. One genuine improvement I noticed. Opus 4.6 stayed coherent all the way up to 70% context usage. In my V5 test with Sonnet 4.0, the model would start losing track much earlier. So the model upgrade helped, even if the method itself didn't change much. This is the part the comments asked about. YOLO mode. The promise of autonomous implementation where you just kick it off and go grab a coffee. The reality, YOLO mode exists, but it's not what you might picture. It doesn't even run a full story, it runs a single step, just the task generation or just the development or just the review, and stops. You have to manually tell it to continue to the next step. That's not exactly YOLO. After some frustration, I discovered the real trick, and this works for both V5 and V6. I added instructions to the project's CLAUDE.md file. When in YOLO mode, do not stop. Go to the next logical step, develop, review, fix, complete. Do not stop until the story is done. Use subagents where applicable. That made a drastic improvement. With those instructions, each story would accurately run to completion autonomously, develop, review, apply fixes, all in one go. I could clear the context, paste the next story command, and walk away. If you're going to use BMAD, this trick is essential. But even with that fix, the process had real problems. After Epic 2, the code didn't compile. The dev server was completely broken. On paper, every story had green check marks. In the browser, nothing worked. Document not defined errors because it was running browser code on the server side. Missing imports. The SVG assets were rough placeholders that looked like they were drawn during an earthquake. I spent several iterations debugging compilation issues. Fixed the broken canon state transition. When you overcharged, it would flash the game over screen and immediately restart because the spacebar was still held down. Fixed the audio context problem where sounds wouldn't play without user interaction. Fixed the charging sound playing in an infinite loop when you overcharged. One by one, each epic revealed new bugs that the method's own QA step had completely missed. Eventually, after about 7 hours spread across 2 days, the game was playable. Sounds worked. The pendulum swung. The scoring tracked. But the visuals were basic placeholders. A red dot for the tuna until I asked it to make an actual fish, and it took significant manual course correction just to get the game running. On my $100 a month Claude Code Max subscription running Opus 4.6 with low reasoning effort, I burned through 64% of my 5-hour token budget for a tuna canon game. Same requirements document, same sound files placed in the assets folder, one prompt. Read these requirements and build the game for me. The game should run in HTML5 canvas. Feel free to suggest the implementation details. Use subagents if needed. Make sure it runs at the best quality possible. No BMAD, no agents, no epics, no stories, just plan mode with Opus 4.6. It spent a few minutes planning. Didn't ask me a single question. Then it built the entire game. Plain JavaScript. No TypeScript. No bundler. Just an index.html and some script files. I was skeptical. I opened the browser. It worked. First try. Every sound played correctly. The cat looked like a cat. The fish looked like a fish. The cannon charged and fired. The pendulum swung with proper physics, no compilation errors, no broken states. The only fix needed was running a local web server instead of opening the HTML file directly. And it looked better, significantly better. Not because of some design methodology or emotional response mapping, but because the model just made reasonable visual choices on its own. Turns out, when you don't spend hours telling an AI how to feel about a tuna cannon, it just builds the thing. The trade-offs are real. No tests, no TypeScript, no architecture documents. Simple HTML with inline scripts. A professional codebase this is not. But the end user doesn't care about TypeScript. They care that the game works, looks decent and is fun to play. Total time under 15 minutes. Token usage 4% of my 5-hour budget. I also tried different reasoning effort levels, Codex and Gemini, but that's a different video. I don't want to be completely unfair here. BMAD does some things genuinely well. The elicitation questions are useful. If you're building something in a domain you don't understand, the PM agent will ask questions you didn't know to ask. Hit detection models, audio API choices, physics approaches, difficulty curves. For someone learning game development for the first time, that guided discovery has real value. I learned things from those questions. It's a solid learning tool. Spending hours with the brainstorming and design phases teaches you terminology, default patterns, and decision points you'd otherwise miss entirely. If you're a non-technical person trying to build an application, the structured guidance can help you make informed decisions before you write a single line of code. And the expansion packs can add real domain-specific value. A game dev studio module that actually knows Unity or Go conventions might actually accelerate game development. I didn't test it, but the concept is sound. The negatives haven't changed from V5 though. The process is still lengthy. 7 hours versus 8 is not the improvement the changelog promised. It's still single-threaded, one context window, no parallel execution. It generates mountains of documentation that, let's be honest, nobody is going to read after the project ships. And for a developer with defined tasks, plan mode, superpowers, or OpenStack will get you to a working result in a fraction of that time. The biggest gap is brownfield projects. BMAD does have workflows for existing code bases, a project context generator that scans your code and quick flow for smaller additions. But I can't imagine using this in my day-to-day work. For a developer with a real codebase who needs to ship a feature, I'd code it faster myself than go through the BMAD ceremony. You wouldn't summon a PM agent to change a button color or update some copy. BMAD is too big for one video. I skipped the expansion packs, didn't test quick flow and never tried party mode, even though it kept prompting me to. If you think any of those deserve their own video, tell me in the comments. If you found this useful, subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow and means more honest reviews of tools like this. And remember, if your cat watched your code for 7 hours straight, she's not impressed. She could have caught the tuna herself.